Let's be real. Dealing with people who think they can toy with your emotions is exhausting. It's not just annoying, it can shake your sense of peace, steal your focus, and leave you second-guessing yourself. I've been there. I know what it feels like to have someone try to manipulate you, push your buttons, or make you feel small just to boost their own ego. It's draining, isn't it? But here's the truth. You don't have to play their game. You don't have to let them pull you into their world of control and manipulation. There's another way, a stronger, calmer, more powerful way. I've learned something over the years, something that's changed how I deal with people who try to mess with me emotionally. It's not about yelling louder, proving a point, or fighting fire with fire. That only burns you out. Instead, it's about mastering yourself, your reactions, your energy, your focus. When you take charge of those things, the tables turn. The very people who tried to manipulate you start to notice something they can't stand. They can't control you anymore. And let me tell you, nothing frustrates someone like that more than seeing you unbothered and thriving. Here's the thing. When you stop reacting the way they expect, you throw them off balance. It's not about being passive or ignoring the problem. It's about showing that you're stronger than their games. And when you do this, when you stay calm, set boundaries, and protect your peace, you become someone they can't help but focus on. Not because you're playing their game, but because you've risen above it. I've seen this happen in my own life. There was a time when I'd let people walk all over me, always trying to please, always trying to keep the peace. But the more I tried to win their approval, the more they pushed, the more they tested my limits. I felt trapped. Then I decided I was done. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped reacting to their provocations. I started setting boundaries, saying no, and holding my ground. At first, it felt strange, uncomfortable even. But soon I noticed something incredible. The very people who used to treat me like an easy target suddenly started paying attention in a different way. They couldn't figure me out, and that made them obsessed with trying. Meanwhile, I was too busy living my life to care. What I want to share with you today isn't just theory, it's something I've lived. It's about taking your power back, not by fighting harder, but by becoming untouchable in ways they'll never see coming. It's about mastering your mind, your emotions, and your energy so that no one, not a manipulative friend, not a toxic boss, not even a partner, can ever pull you into their games again. This is about more than just dealing with difficult people. It's about becoming the kind of person who commands respect without ever having to ask for it. Let's get into it. Let's talk about what happens when you stop playing the emotional tug-of-war. There's a shift, almost like flipping a switch. Suddenly, the people who used to have control over your emotions lose their grip. They're left scrambling, confused, and frustrated because they can't predict you anymore. It's not magic, it's detachment. This isn't about shutting yourself off or pretending you don't care. It's about freedom. The kind of freedom that comes when you no longer allow someone else's behavior to dictate your peace of mind. That's where real power lies. And trust me, I know this firsthand. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means mastery. It's the art of standing firm in the storm without letting the wind knock you over. Let me show you how it works and why it's one of the most powerful tools you can use to break free from emotional games. The first thing I had to learn about detachment was that it starts with awareness. For years, I reacted without thinking. Someone would say something rude and I'd snap back. They'd criticize me and I'd jump to defend myself. It felt natural, even necessary, to prove my worth or make my case. But over time, I noticed something. The more I reacted, the more power I gave them. It was like I was handing over the keys to my peace of mind. That realization hit me hard. Why was I letting someone else control how I felt? I began paying attention to my triggers, those moments when my emotions flared up and I felt compelled to react. At first, it was uncomfortable to pause and reflect instead of reacting, but I soon discovered that this pause was where my power lived. By stepping back even for a moment, I could decide how I wanted to respond. That choice, that little space between their actions and my reaction, was everything. Detachment also taught me the value of letting go of the need for validation. Let me tell you, this was a tough one for me. I used to care so much about what people thought of me. I wanted to be liked, respected, understood. But here's the harsh truth. Some people will never see your worth no matter how much you explain yourself. And trying to win them over only drains you. Once I stopped seeking validation from others, I felt lighter. It was like setting down a heavy backpack I didn't even realize I was carrying. Detachment freed me to live for myself, not for their approval. One of the most surprising lessons of detachment is how it shifts the power dynamic. When someone tries to manipulate you and you don't take the bait, it throws them off completely. They're expecting you to argue, to explain, to defend yourself. But when you stay calm and unbothered, they don't know what to do. It's like they're playing a game, but you've walked off the field. And here's the kicker. That calmness doesn't just disarm them, it fascinates them. People are drawn to what they can't control. The very act of detachment makes you intriguing because you're no longer predictable. To truly embrace detachment, I had to rethink my relationship with control. Manipulators thrive on the illusion of control, but they can only control what you allow. When I stopped trying to control how others saw me or reacted to me, I gained control over myself. That's the paradox of detachment. By letting go of the need to control, you become unshakable. You can't control what others do, but you can always control how you respond. And that's where your strength lies. One practice that helped me strengthen my detachment was focusing on what I value. When someone tries to play games with your emotions, it's easy to get caught up in their chaos. But when you're clear on your values, you have a solid foundation that keeps you grounded. For me, one of those values is peace. Anytime someone tries to provoke me, I ask myself, is this worth my peace? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. That clarity makes it easier to let go of situations that don't serve me. Another key to detachment is learning to sit with discomfort. Manipulators count on your discomfort to make you react. They'll push your buttons, hoping to spark anger, fear, or guilt. But when you learn to sit with those feelings without acting on them, you take away their power. I've had moments where someone said something cruel or tried to humiliate me, and my instinct was to lash out. But instead, I stayed silent, breathed deeply, and let the discomfort pass. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Every time I resisted the urge to react, I felt stronger, more in control. Detachment also means accepting that you can't change people. This was a tough pill for me to swallow. I used to think I could reason with manipulative people, help them see the error of their ways, or fix our relationship. But the more I tried, the more stuck I felt. Detachment freed me from that cycle. It reminded me that my responsibility is to myself, not to fixing others or making them understand me. That realization was incredibly liberating. One of the most powerful aspects of detachment is how it protects your energy. Emotional games are exhausting. They drain you, distract you, and keep you from focusing on what really matters. But when you detach, you conserve your energy for the things that align with your values. Instead of wasting time on someone else's drama, you can invest that energy in your growth, your goals, and your peace. There's something magnetic about someone who's mastered detachment. People notice it. They notice the way you carry yourself, the way you don't get pulled into drama, the way you remain calm under pressure. It's not just attractive, it's commanding. Detachment doesn't just protect you from manipulators, it elevates you above them. You become someone they can't figure out, someone they can't ignore, someone they can't help but respect. This isn't about becoming emotionless or shutting yourself off from others. It's about choosing where to invest your emotions and protecting your peace. It's about recognizing that you don't have to engage with every challenge or respond to every insult. Detachment is freedom, it's strength. And when you embrace it, you reclaim your power in ways you never thought possible. Let's take this further. There's so much more to uncover. When I first began to understand the power of detachment, I realized that silence was its strongest ally. The ability to hold back words, to let moments of tension hang unfilled, felt like stepping into a completely different kind of strength. Silence isn't weakness, it's control. And if there's one thing manipulators can't stand, it's losing control of the narrative they're trying to spin. Silence disrupts their rhythm, leaves them scrambling, and often forces them to confront their own insecurities. This isn't just about avoiding unnecessary conflict. It's about reclaiming power in a way that speaks louder than any words ever could. I've seen how silence transforms dynamics. In situations where someone once baited me into reacting, I started responding with calm, intentional silence. And the shift? Immediate. Silence says, "You don't deserve an answer right now." It draws a boundary without needing to explain it. And let me tell you, there's nothing more unsettling to someone who thrives on manipulation than realizing they can no longer predict or control your reactions. What makes silence so effective is its simplicity. It forces the other person to fill the void, often exposing their true intentions in the process. When you refuse to engage in their drama, they're left to grapple with their own words. Silence is not passive. It's an active choice that says, "I choose not to participate in your game." It's a decision to stand firm in your peace, no matter how hard they try to disrupt it. The beauty of silence is that it shifts the focus from them to you. While they're busy trying to figure out what you're thinking, you're protecting your energy and maintaining your composure. In my own life, I've used silence in heated conversations where the other person expected me to react defensively or emotionally. Instead, I paused, let the tension linger, and watched as their frustration grew. That pause gave me time to think clearly, to decide if their words even deserved a response. Most of the time, they didn't. Silence also gives you the upper hand because it keeps people guessing. Manipulators rely on predictability. They want to know your triggers, your weaknesses, your insecurities. But when you don't respond, when you stay calm and composed, they're left with nothing. That uncertainty eats at them, and paradoxically, it draws them in even more. They become obsessed with trying to figure you out, to break through your calm exterior, because your silence represents the one thing they can't control, your inner strength. There's a certain power in being able to let a comment or action pass without reacting. It's not about ignoring the situation or pretending it didn't happen. It's about showing that you're in control of yourself. Silence doesn't mean you're weak or submissive. It means you're strong enough to choose your battles wisely. Every time you choose silence over unnecessary confrontation, you're conserving your energy for what truly matters. I remember a time when a co-worker consistently tried to provoke me during meetings. They'd interrupt me, question my ideas, and make sarcastic remarks in front of others. In the past, I would have felt the need to defend myself, to prove my worth, but instead I started responding with silence. I let their words hang in the air, refusing to give them the satisfaction of a reaction. And you know what happened? Their behavior became more erratic, more desperate, and eventually they stopped. My silence had spoken louder than anything I could have said. Silence isn't just about withholding words, it's about mastering your presence. When you're silent, people start to notice your body language, your expressions, your energy. It forces them to pay attention in a way they might not have if you were speaking. This kind of presence demands respect. It creates an aura of confidence and self-control that can't be faked. Silence tells the world, I don't need to explain myself to you. My actions will speak for me. There's also an emotional element to silence that's worth exploring. For manipulators, silence feels like rejection. They interpret it as a refusal to engage, a dismissal of their attempts to control the situation. This can be incredibly frustrating for them because it undermines their tactics. They thrive on drama, on pulling you into their chaos. But your silence creates a barrier they can't penetrate. It's a way of saying, you don't have access to my emotions. Strategic silence can also be used to redirect conversations. When someone tries to provoke you, staying silent allows you to regain control of the dialogue. It gives you the time to think, to choose your words carefully, and to steer the conversation in a direction that aligns with your values. Silence isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about handling it with grace and intention. In moments of tension, silence can be a powerful way to assert dominance without being confrontational. It says, I'm not going to lower myself to your level. It forces the other person to either escalate their behavior, which often exposes their immaturity, or back down entirely. Either way, you've maintained your dignity while showing that you won't be manipulated. Silence also creates space for reflection. When you're silent, you're not just giving yourself time to process, you're giving the other person time to consider their own behavior. In some cases, this can lead to a shift in their approach. They might realize that their tactics aren't working and adjust their behavior accordingly. In this way, silence becomes a tool for change, not just for yourself, but for others as well. What I love most about silence is its adaptability. It can be used in so many situations, from personal relationships to professional settings. Whether you're dealing with a manipulative friend, a critical coworker, or a demanding family member, silence is a universal tool that transcends context. It's not about ignoring problems or avoiding accountability. It's about choosing when and how to engage in a way that protects your peace. Silence is also deeply empowering because it puts you in the driver's seat. Instead of reacting impulsively, you're making a conscious choice to respond, or not respond, on your terms. This kind of control is incredibly liberating. It allows you to navigate difficult situations with confidence and clarity, knowing that you're staying true to yourself. Over time, I've learned that silence isn't just a tactic, it's a mindset. It's about recognizing that not every comment deserves a response, not every challenge requires a rebuttal, and not every battle is worth fighting. Silence is about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone diminish it. It's about standing firm in your power, even when others try to shake you. When you embrace silence as a tool for self-mastery, you'll notice a shift, not just in how others treat you, but in how you see yourself. You'll feel stronger, calmer, and more in control of your life. And that, in itself, is a victory. Let's keep going. There's more to uncover, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Silence is a powerful tool, but to wield it effectively, it must come from a place of inner strength. Without that solid foundation, silence can feel like avoidance or weakness, and people will see through it. This is where the concept of building an inner citadel becomes crucial. It's about creating a fortress within yourself that no one can penetrate, no matter what they say or do. When you have that kind of confidence, people notice. They're drawn to it, even if they can't fully explain why. And here's the best part. When you truly know your worth, you don't have to say or do much to command respect. It radiates from you effortlessly. Confidence like this doesn't come from external achievements or others' approval. I learned this the hard way. For years, I thought that success, recognition, or relationships would give me confidence. But every time I reached a goal, I found myself feeling just as uncertain as before. It wasn't until I turned inward and began working on myself that I realized confidence isn't something you get from the outside. It's something you build from within. Building an inner citadel starts with self-awareness. You can't create unshakable confidence if you don't know who you are or what you stand for. For me, this meant taking a hard look at my values, my beliefs, and the things that mattered most to me. I asked myself questions like, what kind of person do I want to be? And what principles am I willing to stand by, even when it's hard? Answering these questions wasn't easy. It required honesty and a willingness to confront parts of myself I'd been avoiding. But it was necessary. Knowing my values gave me a blueprint for how to live my life, and sticking to them became the foundation of my confidence. Self-worth is another cornerstone of the inner citadel. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that you have to believe in your own value before anyone else will. This doesn't mean being arrogant or thinking you're better than others. It means recognizing your unique strengths and treating yourself with the same respect you expect from others. When you value yourself, you stop tolerating disrespect, manipulation, or toxic behavior. You set boundaries not out of anger, but out of self-respect. And people notice. They may not always like it, but they'll respect it. Developing unshakable confidence also requires letting go of the need for external validation. This is a tough one, especially in a world where we're constantly bombarded with messages about how we should look, act, or live. But here's the truth. No amount of likes, compliments, or achievements will ever fill the void if you don't already feel whole within yourself. I had to learn to stop seeking approval from others and start giving it to myself. This shift was liberating. It allowed me to make decisions based on what felt right for me, rather than what I thought would make others happy. And that kind of authenticity is magnetic. People are drawn to those who are unapologetically themselves. Resilience is another key part of the inner citadel. Life is unpredictable, and you can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. This is where Stoic philosophy has been a game changer for me. The Stoics taught that we should focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, our attitude, and let go of the rest. This mindset has helped me stay grounded in difficult situations, whether it's dealing with criticism, facing rejection, or navigating uncertainty. When you're resilient, you don't crumble under pressure. You adapt, you grow, and you come out stronger. And that kind of strength commands respect. Another aspect of building an inner citadel is learning to quiet the inner critic. We all have that voice in our head that tells us we're not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. For years, I let that voice run my life. But I've learned that the inner critic isn't the enemy. It's just fear, disguised as self-doubt. Instead of fighting it, I started challenging it. I'd ask myself, is this thought really true? And what evidence do I have to support it? Most of the time, the answer was none. Over time, this practice helped me reframe my thoughts and build a more supportive inner dialogue. One of the most powerful ways to fortify your inner citadel is through daily habits. Confidence isn't something you achieve once and then forget about. It's something you cultivate every day. For me, this means starting my day with intentional practices that ground me, like journaling, meditation, or exercise. These habits help me stay connected to myself and remind me of my values. They're like daily bricks that reinforce the walls of my inner citadel, making it stronger with each passing day. Another lesson I've learned is the importance of surrounding yourself with people who uplift you. Your environment plays a huge role in shaping your confidence. If you're constantly around people who belittle you, dismiss your ideas, or undermine your efforts, it's going to chip away at your self-worth. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with supportive, respectful, and inspiring people, it reinforces your sense of value. It's not about seeking validation from others. It's about choosing relationships that align with your values and contribute to your growth. Building an inner citadel also involves embracing imperfection. For a long time, I thought confidence meant being flawless, always knowing the right thing to say or do. But the truth is, confidence comes from accepting yourself as you are, imperfections and all. It's about saying, I'm not perfect, but I'm worthy. This shift in perspective allowed me to take risks, make mistakes, and grow without fear of judgment. And that, in turn, made me stronger. One of the most surprising things about building an inner citadel is how it affects your presence. When you have unshakable confidence, people can feel it. It's not about being loud or boastful, it's about having a quiet strength that speaks for itself. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone because your actions, your demeanor, and your energy do the talking for you. This kind of confidence is rare, and it's incredibly attractive. People are naturally drawn to those who exude self-assurance without arrogance. Building an inner citadel means committing to lifelong growth. Confidence isn't a destination, it's a journey. There will always be new challenges, new lessons, and new opportunities to grow. Embracing this mindset has helped me stay curious, open-minded, and adaptable. It's reminded me that confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting yourself to figure things out along the way. When you build an inner citadel, you create a foundation of confidence that no one can shake. You become someone who commands respect, not by demanding it, but by embodying it. And the best part, this kind of confidence isn't just for show, it's real, lasting, and entirely within your control. Let's keep going, because there's so much more to explore. When you've built an unshakable inner confidence, something fascinating begins to happen. You stop feeling the need to react to everything. You no longer rush to defend yourself, explain your intentions, or fight battles that don't align with your values. But here's the twist. This calm, deliberate non-reaction doesn't make you invisible. In fact, it does the opposite. The less you react, the more others notice. It's a paradox that works like magic. Your refusal to engage in drama confuses people who thrive on it, and instead of pulling you down, they become captivated by your calm. I've seen this play out in my own life more times than I can count. There was a time when I thought every jab or insult deserved a counterattack. I'd argue, explain, or try to prove myself, but it only ever made me feel drained and frustrated. It wasn't until I started practicing non-reaction that I discovered its quiet power. The first time I held back from engaging in someone's chaos, it felt strange, almost like I was letting them win. But as the conversation unfolded, I saw the shift. My calm made them unravel. My silence made them rethink their approach. And that's when I realized non-reaction isn't weakness, it's strategy. The power of non-reaction lies in the control it gives you over your own emotions. Manipulative people, toxic individuals, and even everyday instigators rely on your reaction to fuel their behavior. They poke and prod, waiting for you to snap, because your emotional response validates their actions. When you refuse to react, you deny them that satisfaction. It's like cutting off their supply line. Without your energy feeding their fire, they're left with nothing but their own behavior to deal with. One of the hardest parts of mastering non-reaction is breaking the habit of immediate emotional responses. It's natural to want to defend yourself when you feel attacked, or to lash out when someone crosses a line. But I've learned that reacting impulsively only gives away your power. Instead, I started practicing what I call the pause. When someone says or does something provoking, I take a moment, just a breath, to ask myself, is this worth my energy? 9 times out of 10, it's not. That pause allows me to stay in control rather than letting them pull me into their drama. Non-reaction also creates space for clarity. When you're not busy reacting, you can step back and assess the situation more objectively. You start to see things for what they really are, rather than through the lens of your immediate emotions. This clarity is invaluable. It helps you spot patterns, understand motivations, and decide the best course of action, not just the most emotionally satisfying one in the moment. For me, this shift has been transformative. I no longer feel like I'm at the mercy of other people's moods or manipulations. I'm able to make decisions from a place of strength, not reactivity. Another thing I've noticed is how non-reaction exposes the true nature of others. When you refuse to engage in their drama, it forces them to confront their own behavior. They can no longer hide behind your reactions. This can be uncomfortable for them, and that's the point. It's not about punishing them, it's about holding up a mirror. Your calm becomes a reflection of their chaos, and in many cases, it leads them to rethink their actions. I've seen this happen in both personal and professional relationships, and it's incredibly empowering. Non-reaction also sends a powerful message about your priorities. It shows that you value your peace and integrity over temporary satisfaction. This kind of self-control is rare, and it stands out. People notice when you don't take the bait, when you don't stoop to their level, and it earns you a level of respect that words alone can't achieve. I've had people come to me after heated situations, admitting that they admired how I stayed calm. That's the paradox. By not reacting, you actually command more attention and respect than if you'd engaged. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned about non-reaction is how it protects your energy. Engaging in drama is exhausting. It drains you emotionally, mentally, and even physically. But when you choose non-reaction, you conserve that energy for things that truly matter. Instead of wasting time on arguments or conflicts that go nowhere, you can invest your energy in your goals, your growth, and your well-being. This shift has been a game changer for me. I feel more focused, more productive, and more at peace because I'm no longer letting other people's chaos dictate my life. Non-reaction doesn't mean avoiding conflict altogether. It's about choosing when and how to engage. There are times when it's necessary to stand up for yourself or address an issue directly, but even then, you can do it from a place of calm. Non-reaction isn't about being passive, it's about being intentional. It's about deciding what's worth your energy and what's not, and that kind of discernment is incredibly powerful. Another benefit of non-reaction is how it strengthens your self-trust. Every time you choose not to react impulsively, you're proving to yourself that you're in control. You're reinforcing the idea that you can handle difficult situations without losing your cool. This builds confidence and resilience, which only makes you stronger in the long run. For me, this has been one of the most rewarding aspects of practicing non-reaction. It's not just about dealing with others, it's about becoming someone I can rely on, no matter what. Non-reaction also has a way of diffusing tension. When someone is trying to provoke you, they're expecting a fight. Your calm throws them off balance. It disrupts their plans and forces them to reassess the situation. In many cases, this leads to a de-escalation. I've seen heated arguments fizzle out simply because I refuse to engage. It's not about winning the argument, it's about refusing to play the game altogether. There's something incredibly freeing about not needing to have the last word. For years, I thought I had to explain myself, to prove my point, to make others see things my way. But the truth is, not every battle is worth fighting, and not every point needs to be made. Non-reaction has taught me the value of letting go, of walking away, of choosing peace over pride. And let me tell you, that peace is worth more than any temporary satisfaction I used to get from winning an argument. Non-reaction is a skill that takes practice, but it's one of the most valuable tools you can develop. It's about more than just staying calm. It's about reclaiming your power, protecting your peace, and commanding respect without saying a word. The less you react, the more you stay true to yourself, and that in itself is the ultimate victory. Let's keep moving forward, because this journey is just getting started. When you master non-reaction, you naturally begin to notice something else, the areas of your life where boundaries have been blurred. You see how people push limits, test your patience, and take advantage of your silence if you let them. That's where the next step comes in, reclaiming your power by setting boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls you put up to shut people out. They're guidelines that show others how to treat you, and more importantly, remind you how to treat yourself. And when those boundaries are rooted in discipline and self-respect, they don't just protect you, they make you unforgettable. I used to think that setting boundaries was selfish or confrontational. I worried about offending people or creating conflict. But over time, I learned that boundaries aren't about keeping others happy. They're about protecting your energy and your values. Without boundaries, you end up giving too much, saying yes when you mean no, and feeling resentful when others take advantage of your kindness. That's not strength. That's self-neglect. I had to realize that reclaiming my power wasn't just an option, it was necessary. Setting boundaries starts with understanding your limits. For a long time, I didn't even know where my limits were because I was so used to putting others first. I thought saying no made me a bad person. But the truth is, every time I said yes to something that didn't align with my values or drained my energy, I was saying no to myself. I had to take a step back and ask, what am I willing to tolerate? What behaviors cross the line for me? Answering those questions gave me clarity and helped me define my boundaries. One of the most transformative lessons I learned about boundaries is that they aren't just about what you say, they're about what you do. It's not enough to tell someone how you want to be treated. You have to show them through your actions. If someone continues to disrespect your boundaries and you don't follow through with consequences, you're sending the message that your boundaries don't matter. I had to learn this the hard way. There were times when I'd tell someone I wasn't okay with a certain behavior, but then I'd let it slide just this once. That once turned into twice, then 3 times, and before I knew it, my boundaries were meaningless. It wasn't until I started holding firm and enforcing my limits that people began to respect them, and me. Boundaries are a reflection of self-respect. When you set clear, unwavering boundaries, you're telling the world, I value myself enough to protect my peace. This isn't about being rigid or controlling. It's about prioritizing your well-being. And here's the surprising part. When you respect yourself, others start to respect you too. People can sense when you're confident in your worth, and it makes them think twice before crossing you. In my experience, the more I respected my own boundaries, the less I had to explain or justify them. They became non-negotiable, and others adapted accordingly. Stoic philosophy has been a guiding light for me in this area. The Stoics teach that discipline is the foundation of a good life. Discipline isn't just about sticking to a routine or meeting goals. It's about aligning your actions with your values, even when it's uncomfortable. Setting boundaries is an act of discipline because it requires you to stay true to yourself, even in the face of pressure or pushback. It's about saying, this is what I stand for and I won't compromise on it. That kind of clarity is rare, and it's powerful. One of the challenges I faced when setting boundaries was dealing with guilt. I'd worry about how the other person would feel or whether they'd think I was being difficult. But then I realized something important. Other people's feelings about my boundaries are their responsibility, not mine. My job is to communicate my limits respectfully and stand by them. How others choose to react is out of my control. Once I let go of that guilt, setting boundaries became so much easier. I no longer felt the need to over-explain or apologize for protecting myself. Boundaries also taught me the importance of consistency. People test limits. They'll see if you really mean what you say or if you'll cave under pressure. Consistency is what shows them you're serious. There was a time when someone in my life constantly pushed my boundaries, despite me saying no multiple times. It wasn't until I followed through with a consequence, like walking away from the conversation or limiting contact, that they finally got the message. Consistency isn't always easy, but it's what solidifies your boundaries and earns you respect. Another powerful aspect of boundaries is how they simplify your life. Without them, you're constantly caught in situations that drain you or make you uncomfortable. But when you set clear boundaries, you eliminate so much unnecessary stress. You no longer have to deal with toxic people, overcommitment, or situations that go against your values. Boundaries give you the freedom to focus on what truly matters, and that clarity is priceless. Boundaries also create space for healthier relationships. When you're clear about your limits, you attract people who respect them and who value you for who you are. Relationships built on mutual respect and understanding are far more fulfilling than those based on obligation or fear of conflict. I've experienced this shift in my own life. As I became more confident in setting boundaries, I noticed that the people who respected them were the ones who genuinely cared about me. And the ones who didn't? They faded away, and I was better off without them. One of the most rewarding aspects of setting boundaries is how it transforms your self-image. Every time you stand firm in your limits, you're reinforcing the belief that you're worthy of respect. This builds confidence and helps you see yourself in a new light. You start to realize that you don't need to bend over backward to be liked or accepted. You're enough as you are, and your boundaries are a reflection of that self-worth. Reclaiming power through boundaries isn't just about keeping others in check. It's about empowering yourself. It's about taking control of your life and refusing to let anyone diminish your value. When you live with that kind of clarity and discipline, you become unforgettable. People may not always like your boundaries, but they'll respect them, and they'll respect you. And that, I've found, is worth everything. Boundaries aren't a one-time fix, they're an ongoing practice. As you grow and evolve, your boundaries may shift, and that's okay. The key is to stay connected to yourself and to honor your needs. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every step you take toward setting and enforcing boundaries is a step toward reclaiming your power and living a life that aligns with your values. Let's keep moving forward because there's still so much more to learn and grow. Let me leave you with this. The power to change the way people treat you starts and ends with you. By mastering detachment, embracing silence, building your inner citadel, and reclaiming your power through boundaries, you become untouchable. Manipulators, toxic people, and those who seek to control you will no longer have a grip on your emotions or your peace. Instead, they'll find themselves captivated by your calm strength, drawn to the quiet confidence you radiate, and left frustrated by their inability to shake you. You've shifted the game, and now you're the one in control. This journey isn't just about protecting yourself, it's about creating a life rooted in self-respect, clarity, and resilience. The tools we've explored together aren't quick fixes. They're disciplines rooted in Stoic wisdom that grow stronger with practice. The best part? The more you live these principles, the more freedom, peace, and respect you'll attract. Not because you're demanding it, but because you've become the kind of person who commands it naturally. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these principles resonated with you the most? Do you see yourself using detachment, silence, or boundaries in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know your perspective and learn about your experiences. If this conversation has sparked something in you, don't stop here. Hit the subscribe button and join this growing community of people committed to living with purpose, resilience, and authenticity. Together, we'll keep learning, growing, and reclaiming our power. I can't wait to see where this journey takes you.